and welcome back to Gapey's Garden. Today we're in the front yard and I thought I would show you what's going on up here. It's a lot of ornamentals. We've got this big Japanese maple, and then these are some bachelor buttons that I started from seed in the spring, so they're all starting to bloom. I've got 3 different plants growing here, and I think they might be 3 different colors. But I was surprised how many different colors bachelor buttons come in. And then I've got a peony right behind that just finished blooming, so all those blooms have been chopped off. And then this here is a heath bush that took a little bit of damage from the snow, so the middle part is kind of died back, so I'm not sure that's gonna grow back or not. And then we've got another peony. This one I just picked up at a plant swap, so that's why it's a little droopy. Hopefully next year maybe it'll bloom, we'll see. But I think it's still alive. It's been in the ground for a few weeks now. And then we've got a few azalea bushes that are also done blooming. And then we've got a pathway here along the side of the house where I have a bunch more ornamentals. And some of these, a lot of the stuff I picked up at plant swaps, and I can't remember what some of it is. Like this thing here I picked up last year, and I did write this stuff down, so I have it inside somewhere, but I can't remember what that is, but I planted it last fall. And then I've also got this one here, and I can't remember what that one's called either. I'll try and put some text up on the video when I post it. And then we've got this is a hardy fuchsia, so this is a perennial fuchsia, so that gets nice and bushy, and it actually dies all the way back to the ground during the fall. But it's just starting to bloom now. It's got these beautiful red and purple flowers, and I've noticed the hummingbirds really like feeding on that. And then we've got some sedums here that are just starting, almost ready to bloom here. They've got a lot of yellow buds on that, so the bees really love sedum when it flowers. So we've got a lot of that here on this side of the house. And this is the north side of the house, so it is in almost pretty much shade most of the day. And we've got a really big fern here, and then we've got some Japanese sedge. So this is a variegated kind of a grassy thing that gets, it doesn't really flower, but it gets these little kind of stalks here that are kind of like flowers. And here's another one I got at a plant swap, and I forget what this one is called as well, but it gets these little 3-petal purple flowers, and it's blooming now, and it looks like it'll be blooming for a little while longer. It's got a lot of buds on it. And then we've got yellow corydalis, and this thing spreads like crazy. So I got this at a plant swap a couple years ago, just a single plant, and it spread all across the side of the house here. And then this is a juga. I think it goes by a couple other names, but it's pretty much, yeah, it's done flowering now, but it's got some nice foliage, but it gets these purple flowers. It just finished blooming maybe a few weeks ago. And then this one is a new one that I just picked up at the last plant swap we went to. This is called Astrantia Starfire. So I don't remember what that looks like, but I think it likes the shade, so we put it over here. And then that behind it is another plant from a plant swap last year, and I forget what that one's called. And then we've got another Japanese maple, and this one is a purple variety, so it stays purple most of the year, and then it gets really nice bright color in the fall. And then we've got this gigantic cedar tree that is planted way too close to the house, so we want to get rid of that. But we noticed the hummingbirds really like nesting in that tree, so we're kind of delaying getting rid of it. And then we've got some, what are these called? These are a native flowering bush. I think it's actually Washington State flower, and the name of it just escapes me at the moment, but I'll find out. And then we've got another tall pine, kind of weird looking tree there. And then I've got a goji berry bush right here that I just picked up at a plant swap. I think it was last year. It doesn't look like it's going to get any berries this year, but maybe we'll get some next year. And then we've got, let's see, there's a honeysuckle back there that we actually cut almost all the way to the ground because it was climbing up into this tree here and just getting way oversized. Oh, I missed a plant over here. We've got a clematis that I planted a couple years ago, and it had a few flower buds, but I don't think it's flowered. I don't think it's blossomed yet. But this died back all the way to the ground. It just froze and died all the way to the ground, so it had to start all over again. And it's got, oh, looks like it's got some flower buds at the end of the vine here. So there's one flower bud there. I'm not sure. It might have another one on the end of this vine. So it looks like it might get a few flowers, but this is what it's supposed to look like. I've only seen it flower. I think it got one flower last year. So hopefully it'll get more this year. Oh, and this one, this is a yellow-eyed grass, I think it's called, but it's not. I got this at a plant swap, the last one we went to too, but it's not looking very good. It's kind of, looks like almost like it's burnt. Kind of weird. So I'm not sure if that one's going to make it. And then we've got a lot of different grasses kind of growing all over the place. And then this here is I don't know if it's a weed or what, but I don't think I've seen it before. But it gets these little purple flowers and it's kind of vining all over the place. So I don't know if I need to get rid of it or if I should just let it keep growing or just cut it back. We'll see. And then I've got this Sarcococa, I think it's called. But that's also called sweet bush, I think. But I got that at the last plant swap as well. It's just a baby, so it has a lot of growing to do. And then I've got a hydrangea. This is a vining variety of hydrangea, so it's kind of vining up the fence posts there. And it really likes that spot. And then we've got some, I'm not sure, I can't remember what this is called, but I think there was a tag on it somewhere buried in there. But it was planted by the previous owners, like a lot of this stuff was. And this is my worst weed here, this bindweed or morning glory, pops up everywhere. And then we've got our beehive here, which is doing really well. It's got 3 boxes of brood, and then we've got a flow hive frames in the back. And I'll just show you real quick the back of this is a box that we made ourselves. So we could just take this back off and you can see the frames from the back. There's not a whole lot of bees in there right now. You might be able to see some kind of moving around in there. That's kind of a fun little contraption for the beehives. And let's see, what else do we have? We have some oregano. So there's not much edibles in here, but I do have a few herbs and things. So this is oregano that I think it just volunteered here, so I just kind of let it grow. And then we have a couple other plant swap finds. This one is Elysium, I believe, and then this is a double flowering feverfew. Actually, maybe, yeah, I think this one's Elysium. But yeah, that's a double flowering feverfew. And then we've got some columbines here. This is the white Barlow columbine, which is kind of a fun one. And we have, this is an echinacea that's just getting ready to bloom. And I have a couple other echinaceas as well. We have one here. Looks like they're all starting to get ready to bloom. But this one I just started from seed last year. So this will be the first year that it'll be blooming. And then I've got some milkweed. I think this one might have come from no, this is one I planted from seed this year. And then that one there I think is one I got from the plant swap. And we've got lots of lilies. So we've got orange ones. I got this really neat yellow and purple one. And we've got some yellow ones. Let's see if we can squeeze back here. Some yellow ones here. And I think those are the only 3 colors we have. And then the milkweed is just starting to put out some blooms here. And this is actually fireweed here that I just let bloom. It's actually a weed, but the bees like it, so I just let it grow. And what else do we have? A lot of this stuff is already done flowering. It's kind of a jungle back here. Lots of weeds. But we've got this, I think it's called meadow, something meadow. I'll have to look that one up. And then we've got our grapes along the fence post here. You can just see some of them from here. And a lilac there that just finished blooming. The butterflies really like. And that's Solomon seal here, all this tall stuff that just finished blooming a few weeks ago. And this is aster, another flower that's hasn't started blooming yet. It's a little bit of a later blooming plant. And the other tall one that's next to the Solomon seal is this turtle head. And it's also, probably the latest blooming flower I have. So it's going to be a while before that one actually blooms. And what else do we have? Hostas. It's a variegated leaf hosta. I'm not sure what the variety is, but it's just starting to flower right now. Oh, and we've got, this guy is just starting to flower. Coreopsis, I think it's called. But I got the seeds for this from my mom a couple years ago, I think. And snapdragons, these are the tallest snapdragons I have. And they've been coming back every year for a few years now. And here we have bleeding hearts. They still have a few blooms just barely hanging on, but it's pretty much done blooming. This thing is just humongous. Can't believe how big it got. And this is a planter that I actually bought these plants at a local nursery. I kind of went for a little purpley kind of theme, but there's some fun little plants in there. And here's some more asters. Again, those won't be blooming for a little while yet. This is a creeping thyme that's just starting to flower, and bees really like that as well. But it spreads. It spreads a little bit slowly, but it spread a little bit since we moved in. And here we have the grapes. So I really need to kind of do some maintenance on these. I haven't really done much trimming or anything on this, so I probably need to get to that so that the grapes have a little bit of light so that they can grow a little bit better. And then this is the meadow foam that I grew from seed. A lot of it looks like it's starting to get kind of yellow, but this one, some of them are doing pretty good still and have a lot of flowers. But I've got kind of this whole line of those, maybe a dozen or so plants here. And we have, let's see, this one, another one I can't remember what it's called. I think I got this from a plant swap as well, but it gets some really pretty purple, dark purple flowers. But it's pretty much done blooming. And let's see, let's go over to the other side of the house where we have our lavender. I have a couple different varieties of lavender. I think this is the English lavender. But this is one that's called silver mist. The leaves are kind of silvery, you can see, compared to this one over here that's more green. And let's see, I don't remember what the variety of this one is. This one, oh yeah, this one's the phenomenal variety. So this one has a really strong scent and it grows really well. But it's been growing here for the past, I think, three or 4 years now. And more sedums. I've got sedums pretty much everywhere. More sedums over here. And this is where I have all my columbines, and they're all pretty much done flowering. I've probably got about a dozen different colors of columbine in this bed, and I'm always looking for new colors. And this one is the bee balm, and the bee balm is just getting ready to flower. Maybe in another week or so we should have some blooms. And what else? Irises are done blooming. And what else do we have? Oh, I just planted some honeyberries this last couple weeks. I got these at a plant sale during a plant swap. So I've got a blue forest, and these are both, I got 2 of these, and they're both dwarfish varieties. They only get about 3 feet tall. And then this one here is the blue moon. And one of them actually had a single berry. I think it's probably dried up by now, but it had one berry on the plant, but it was a little bit old, so I didn't want to eat it. More irises back there. And we have, that's another peony that's pretty much done blooming, so I still gotta cut those dead blooms off of there. Get it all prettied up. More grasses. And this is, I'm not sure what that is, but I got that at a plant swap too, and it hasn't grown really much at all, so I don't know. I thought it might get kind of big, or I might not grow at all, but it's still hanging in there, but it hasn't really grown much. And we have some yarrow. I have a few. Yarrow isn't really doing that great. It looks like this one might be starting to flower, but it's kind of growing a little bit slow this year. More sedums. Lots of volunteer columbines popping up everywhere. And I let this is calendula that I just let volunteer. So I didn't actually plant any calendula from seed this year, but we have a few plants popping up. And then we've got some dianthus. Now this was a dianthus I started from seed last year. So I planted 3 of them, and they all 3 turned out to be different colors. I really like this one. This one's my favorite. It's got different shades of pink on the blooms. And then I've got a white one back there. And what else we have? This is another one that we got at the last plant swap. It's called Corinth, or Surinth, I think. Something I've never actually heard of before, but I thought I would try that one out. And some more snapdragons. These are smaller snapdragon, and they're just white. And let's see, we've got this this big Japanese maple that just is pretty tall. It needs to be probably trimmed again, but we have some stuff growing underneath it. And this is the back side of the garage, and we have, this one just came from a plant swap also. It looks like it needs some water, but this is a campanella. And here we have regular feverfew, and this stuff volunteers like crazy, so you kind of have to watch out for it. And this, I don't know what that is. It could be actually a walnut, maybe. Let's pull it out and see what it is. No, I don't see a walnut attached to it, but I'm not sure what that is, but it doesn't belong here. And that's pretty much all I wanted to show you for now. Maybe just a few more things. Okay, so this is the rose campanella that I got from a plant swap a few years ago, and then this pretty smoke bush. There was one more thing I wanted to show you really quick. This is a new wildflower bed that we put in the spring, so it's just getting started. We've got a lot of the same kind of flowers, and there was probably 20 different seeds in this mix that was put in, but a lot of it is coming out with the bachelor buttons, and we've got a lot of poppies, and let's see, what was this, cosmos. Those are the things that are pretty much blooming right now. And there's one of these that just popped up, and I'm not sure what that is, but it's got a pretty orange flowers on that one. But yeah, there's a lot of different colors of the bachelor buttons in here. But yeah, that's pretty much all that's coming up in this bed. There's some clover, which I don't know I'm not sure if that was actually part of the mix or not. But I'm not seeing a whole lot of different flowers in here, unfortunately. And we did put in some low grass, which isn't really growing that much. I'm not sure how big that's supposed to get, but it's really tiny. But hopefully in a few years it'll start filling out a little bit better. We'll probably have to put some more seeds in next year. But that's pretty much how it's looking right now. There's a lot of bare spots. Most of the flowers are along the edges of this bed. And I'm not sure what this here is. Might be another bachelor button. But yeah, that's pretty much all that's in going on in this bed right now. Hopefully next year it will look a little bit better. Alright, that's it for now. Thanks again for watching. Talk to you again soon.